Freshman Congressman George Santos, an extraordinarily prodigious liar and typical Republican, has been arrested on 13 federal criminal charges. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. Folks, I had a great time at the beach with members of my family. Haven't done it in years, but to be quite honest with you, I almost regret going because while I was gone, away from my computer, it seemed like karma struck some of the worst Republicans imaginable. One is obviously Donald Trump, but another one is George Santos, a guy that we've talked about a time or two. As a bit of a refresher, George Santos is a freshman Republican congressman from Long Island, New York. The district that he was elected in was previously held by a Democrat. So during the 2022 midterms, which when he ran for office and won, he was seen for two reasons as a Republican success story. Number one, he won in a seat that was previously held by a Democrat. And number two, Santos is openly gay. So many Republicans were using Santos as kind of a prop that indicated that they were socially moderating. Like, guys, look, we can't be the party of homophobia or anything else. Look, we backed and got elected an openly gay conservative. Then we got a flood of credible reports that indicated that George Santos basically defrauded his voters and his constituency and lied about every major detail about his biography. He lied about his education. He lied about his history of philanthropy. He lied about his work history. He lied about his family. He was apparently a practicing Catholic, but said for years he was Jewish, and then when confronted about it, he said, no, yeah, I'm a Catholic, but I always felt, a connection to Jews. I'm Jew-ish. Kind of Jew. I don't know what that means, but anyway, that's the sort of stuff we're talking about, and he's become a pariah ever since. He said, at first he was making excuses, then he said, listen, how many, who here hasn't kind of fudged their CV and, fluffed up parts of their biography to get a job? Then he said things like, I won't run for re-election, but now he's apparently running for re-election, even though 80%, 20% away from 100 of his constituents want him to resign because they feel they've been defrauded by this man. So again, he's a prolific and extraordinary liar. Kind of typical for the modern-day Republican Party. But anyway, he has been arrested on 13 federal charges. We knew he was under investigation by multiple authorities, by local authorities, state authorities, federal authorities, apparently even international, for some shenanigans that went on, I think, in either South America or Brazil specifically. But anyway, People Magazine actually has like a good little short recap of what's going on here, and then we'll dive into it, and then we will look at his terrible post-arrest after he was released on bail, $500,000 bail. We will look at his post-release press conference, which was awful. But let's start with kind of a video recap of what's going on.
Embattled Republican Representative George Santos was arrested Wednesday morning following an investigation into his potentially criminal conduct. The 13-count indictment includes 7 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of money laundering, 1 count of theft of public funds, and 2 counts of making materially false statements to the House of Representatives. The New York lawmaker will be arraigned at the federal courthouse on Long Island Wednesday afternoon. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy told CNN on Tuesday that he will examine the charges before deciding whether to remove Santos from Congress. Santos has generated substantial controversy since his election to Congress in November, particularly after a bombshell New York Times report found that many of the claims he made on the campaign trail and on his resume were unsubstantiated, including his level of education, previous job history, and family ties to the Holocaust. Santos himself acknowledged that he has embellished significant portions of his resume, but in the weeks and months that followed, more mysteries cropped up, like the source of his income, which has seemingly grown by hundreds of thousands of dollars in recent years. United States Attorney Breon Peace said in a statement announcing the arrest that the indictment seeks to hold Santos accountable for his alleged fraudulent schemes and brazen misrepresentations.
Good for them. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. And again, what an indictment of the Republican Party. The fact that this guy wasn't immediately kicked out. I mean, this is, again, and I made a tweet about it, which is basically all I could do while I was on vacation. After the sun set, I was, back in the whatever, I was just like, I'm going to tweet about this. And, it goes to show the asymmetry between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Again, Democratic Party, far from morally, intellectually, or as a matter of record, perfect, right? They're not beyond reproach. But they are orders of magnitude morally and intellectually superior in terms of their leadership compared to the Republican Party. If a Democrat was in George Santos's position, he'd have been booted out of the caucus. It would have given him a whiplash. Like, just fast. We kicked out Al Franken, right, based on some accusations that had limited corroboration, but we were so strict that we removed Al Franken. George Santos, the evidence against him and indicting him is infinitely greater, orders of magnitude, and now you have 13 criminal charges at a federal level and all these things, his embellishment of his CV. This man is orders of magnitude more repugnant than Al Franken was ever accused of being, and Kevin McCarthy is just going to go, well, we got to take a look, right? So just the moral turpitude here is really despicable. Now, the other clip I want to show you is just it's George Santos just floundering in public, which is kind of cool. Unless you have a low cringe threshold, which I do. This is one of the reasons why I have a hard time why I can't watch reality TV, because it's so cringe. This is going to be tough. Let's see what happens here.
Look, this is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on, and I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted. You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts. It's been years of exposing. A lot of you here have reported on them, and yet no investigation is launched into them. I'm going to fight. I'm getting back to that. I'm going to fight my battle. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to fight the witch hunt. I'm going to take care of clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that.
Yeah, so that was pretty pathetic. This man's a joke. He's a carbuncle on the Republican Party, which unfortunately is pretty pockmarked at this point. Got to note the whataboutism, obviously trying to deflect to the president, which we're going to do a video about that as well, because that also happened while I was away. The House GOP, during their investigation of the Biden family, floundered and facepalmed once again. But anyway, again, as is the case with Donald Trump, here we have a prodigious Republican liar and fraud, just a walking ethics violation. Seems like he's starting to feel the consequences of his actions, and hopefully the end is commensurate with the crappy things that he's done. So we'll definitely be paying attention.